Social Work. I'd like to introduce the Engage School of Social Work team who will be helping me this afternoon. It's Sonia Harb, Aisha Ghazi, Fatima Salman, and Dominique Crump. And we're going to be helping coordinate this effort. And we plan to have this kind of community engagement conversation next Thursday, and probably every Thursday for the rest of the month. And then we'll let you know if we need to continue moving forward. So definitely expect to have another virtual conversation just like this next Thursday. And then we'll let you know week to week how things are going to go. Wanted to also say that if you want to be part of a conversation or say something, you need to let Nikki know in chat, and you need to accept the opportunity on the virtual screen to be interact live. So Nikki, who is helping moderate this session, is going to put up a banner that says, everyone, you can be promoted to presenter and interact live. And if you accept that invitation, we'll be able to hear you. So please mute yourself when you're not talking. But if you do want to say something, you'll be able to participate live during the whole conversation. So with that, I think I'm going to hand it over to Nikki. He's going to give a few announcements about how this is going to be recorded and where you can find the information in the future. So go ahead, Nikki.
Right, yeah, this will be recorded, obviously, and shared. I think we could probably share it via email afterwards. So if folks missed it and want to see it, you can share that with them. It'll be made available. This spreadsheet that we'll also be discussing with which is a spreadsheet of volunteer opportunities, will be shared via the school's website and potentially as a Facebook post, and that will also be like a view-only document. So if you want to add opportunities you hear about, you can send an email to ssw.pr@umich.edu or send it to Trina or some of the presenters here. We'll have a better list, I think, sent out for where you can send that to. That's it.
Thanks, Nikki. And I'd also like to say that the Engage School of Social Work team is doing this community engagement opportunity in combination with the Office of Field Education. So I'd also like to turn the mic over to Dan Fisher, who is Director of Field Education, and have him introduce members of his team.
Thanks, Trina. Glad you all could join us today. It's been a collective effort between Trina's team and the Office of Field Education team to really try to create some of the things that we're going to present to you today. We're very excited to share volunteer opportunities as well as some opportunities to use some of these activities for your field education hours as well. Our team is fully engaged in all of this process. I know Mary Eldridge and Rosalva Osorio are on the line. I think the other members of our team that have been regular participants have been Sue Crabb, Rachel Noskow, Daisha Price, Lee Robertson, Stacy Peterson, and Yatisha Robinson. So it's been a very collective effort, and we're excited to share with you what we have put together for you. And I want to thank many of you as well have contributed to some of these ideas. I know we've heard things from multiple areas of our school community, including students of some of these volunteer opportunities. And I know Charles Williams is going to be talking a little bit later today. And so we're very thankful for all of the input we received from you as well. So Trina, back to you.
Great. If we can go to the next slide, I'll share the agenda for this morning or this afternoon. So we're going to first say why we're having this conversation, why should we care about community engagement, and we also really want to hear from you and what you're doing and what your needs are. So we're going to have some polling and some interaction and an opportunity for you guys to share your thoughts and concerns and activities with us. Then we're going to offer a whole list of volunteer opportunities, some that are remote that you can do from home, and some that potentially could be out in the community at your discretion, and we'll talk about that. As Dan mentioned, we're going to have a guest, Charles Williams, to talk about a volunteer opportunity that's going to be at his congregation, the King Solomon Baptist Church, and distributing food care packages to the elderly. We're going to talk about the list of all of the volunteer opportunities that you might be able to select from. Then we're going to hear from the field education, well, from Dan and from the instructions from the field education instructors about how to potentially count some of these things toward your field hours. And then because we know that this is a unique time for all of us and we want to remind ourselves to take care of ourselves, I'm going to invite Dominique Crump to come and do a little piece on self-care and how to mediate anxiety during these times. And then we're going to talk a little bit about next steps and we will be done. So that's the agenda for today. Next slide. So why are we having this conversation? So students and faculty and staff have been reaching out to my Engage team and Dan and his team at the field office saying that we want to do things in the larger community, that we want to find ways to make a difference in our larger community. And so we also know that many people are able to continue to work in field and are continuing to maintain the exact same relationships and reporting mechanisms that are already in place. But a few people may not be getting quite enough hours through their regular field supervision and field placement opportunities. And so this is going to be a way to supplement field hours or also to give students a chance to volunteer during this pandemic and all the things that are happening on in the larger community, and to make sure that we have at least some coordinated communication and activities so that people can know ways to get involved and ways to communicate opportunities that may be existing in their communities or with their field sites. We know that since we're not meeting in person as much and we don't have a lot of classes in person, we don't have a lot of opportunities to see one another in the school building, this is a way to communicate these opportunities and have everybody be on the same page. And again, like I said, every week we're going to do this. We're going to update this opportunity list, so hopefully it will be an ongoing opportunity for students and eventually others to have meaningful opportunities to volunteer in the larger community. The other big thing is that social workers, we want to be involved. We don't want to just be, watching other people be involved. We may not be first responders, as been said by Joe Himley from our office at the School of Social Work, but school social workers are definitely second responders. We're the ones that are coming in and meeting the needs and being helpful, even if it's not the exact health needs, but all the other needs that communities have and that individuals might be having during these times. And again, we want to be able to share with one another. So even though this is the first time when we're talking about opportunities, we want to give people a chance to talk about what they're doing and what's working, and again, what some needs are that we may not even know about. So we're also going to always provide time for you guys to share and to give feedback to us as we're doing this as well. And I think the other thing too is this is really a teachable moment. None of us have really done this before. We don't know how to deal with the emergency that isn't just in one local community or some natural disaster, but that really is citywide, statewide, nationwide, worldwide. And so this is a way for us to learn from one another and be as responsive and as helpful as we can, particularly in Southeast Michigan and our local community. Next slide. And so why should we do anything? I mean, this is probably clear to all of us, but one of the values in our code of ethics is service. And service means that we are willing to serve and meet the needs of the larger community. And also, sometimes we'll do this as part of our job and as part of our field placement. Sometimes we do it pro bono because we know that it's important to make a difference. So not just our own self-interest, but trying to meet people in need and to address social problems as they come up and as they exist. So hopefully, as we are learning from one another and finding ways to be helpful in our larger community, we're also fulfilling our social work values of service. Next slide. And so now this is the time when we know that you guys are all already doing things or have been involved in things or are thinking about things that you want to do. So this is going to be an opportunity for us to hear from you, to facilitate a discussion so that we're not just telling you the opportunities we're aware of, but also giving you guys a chance to talk to us. So next slide. So we're going to do a set of polls, and Nikki, if you can be ready to set up these polls for us. We want everybody to kind of answer this first question. What are you currently doing, or what do you plan to do to volunteer in the larger community? So if Nikki, you can get that poll up, we want to give everybody a chance to, and I guess you have to click on the poll. And then are you currently volunteering and do you plan to do so in the near future? So you can say yes, no, or unsure, or thinking about it. So click that, whatever your response is, to put your vote in. We'll give everybody a few minutes to respond. Looks like people are responding. Okay, so it looks like most people have responded. A few more are still coming in. Okay, so Nikki, if it's okay to show the results, is that possible?
Let me see here. I'm ending it now, and the poll results should show up.
Okay. And if they don't show up, oh, here we go. So 52% are unsure, thinking about it. And then the rest are yes, they're planning to. So good, very good. Thank you, Nikki. Next poll. What is your primary reason for volunteering or wanting to be involved in the larger community engagement efforts? If you could put that poll up. Is your primary reason to contribute to your community or to supplement your field hours? So we could take a second to respond to this poll. And we know some of you, it might be both, but put your primary reason first, to contribute to the community or to supplement your field hours. I'll give you guys a chance to respond to the poll. Okay, Nikki, if you can close this one out and see what these results are. So 25% to supplement field hours, and I'm guessing that the other 75% is to contribute to the community. So great. So next poll question, Nikki. So this question, we don't want to assume, but we know that there are going to be possibly opportunities for translating. And I don't see that poll yet. Is it up yet, or am I not?
It just takes a lag to post.
Okay. So for this one, if there's opportunities to do translating as a service, we want to know if you might be willing or interested in assisting with this. So if you have a language that you speak and you'd be willing to translate as part of your community outreach opportunities, put yes. And if you don't speak a language or aren't willing to do it, put no. And if you do put yes, if you can also add to the chat what language you speak so that we can kind of have a running log of the possibilities. And if there are opportunities in the future to do translating, we'll add it to our list of volunteer opportunities, and we will let you know how that can be done. We have possibilities, but we weren't ready to do that yet. We just want to see how many people could translate if that opportunity came available. So, Nikki, if you can close this poll out. And it looks like we have some people chatting the languages they can do, which is awesome. Okay, good. Okay, so it looks like most people said no, 79%, but about 20% can. So we will definitely keep that in mind. We'll look at the languages you can speak, and we'll bring those opportunities in the future. And then, because we want this to be interactive, we have a lot of information to share today, but we were wondering if there are topics or trainings or information that you'd like in the future. So this is an open-ended question. You can type whatever you want. So I'm going to ask Nikki to bring that poll up. And this is an opportunity for you to type in any information, any skill, any topic that you would like to have us address or share information on or discuss in the near future as we have these ongoing sessions. So we will look and see what you put in this poll and consider those as we think about the agenda for next week. So
there's no short answer function for the polling question, so everybody's going to have to type their answer into the chat.
Okay, awesome. So add to the chat if there's a topic that you would like us to cover, or information that you think would be helpful, or a subject matter that you would like us to address as it relates to community engagement in the future. And since this is not an open chat, we're not going to spend a lot of time here, but if you have things you want to add to the chat during the meeting, just put suggested topic : and then add it, and we will be monitoring this chat throughout the session. Thank you very much.
Chat will also be archived, so you can be able to see it later on.
Absolutely. So, next slide. So now we're going to open it up to attendees, and remember, you have to accept the opportunity to interact live. But this is an opportunity for you to have a conversation with us. We're leaving 7-8 minutes for this. So you raise your hand in the chat, and then we'll call on you. And so if there's opportunities that you are aware of that we don't have on our list or you don't think we might know of, or if you want to let us know what you have been doing, let's say in field or in your local community, if you'd like to suggest some things that are working well, or again, if you want to answer this question of what you need more information about, if you don't want to put it in the chat, if you want to have a more detailed conversation, we're going to leave time for you to have this conversation with us. So, Nikki, if you can, again, give people a chance to interact, or you can accept Nikki's invitation to interact and put in the chat that you want to talk, we will open it up for your questions or comments. So we have suggested topics: how to support parents entertaining their kids, ways to be of service in the Michigan medicine medical field, reintegration once quarantine is lifted. But if anybody actually wants to talk about things they're doing or things they'd like to be considered, please let us know. This is your opportunity to share with us. And if I'm missing anyone in the chat, Nikki or Sonia, let me know. But so far, I don't see anybody jumping forward to talk. Just some other suggested topics while we're waiting: involvement that is interactive but remote, and how to support the well-being of those isolated, particularly healthcare workers and healthcare workers. Lavella is on, and she said that she's been offering virtual wellness sessions called TRE, Tension Trauma Releasing Exercises, how to support parents in entertaining their kids again. And Lavella, if you want to come on for a few minutes and talk live, you're definitely welcome to say a little bit more about the tension, trauma, and releasing exercises if you want to do that.
Okay, I was trying to find how I could do that. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Oh, there's my video. Okay. Yeah, some of the students at social work have tried it out. Most everybody's had a positive experience. I've had one person who said it made her sad, but it's a very simple exercises that help release deep muscular tension. And most people, I've done some sort of pre and post survey things. Most everybody feels more relaxed afterwards. And some people think maybe it's a little touchy-feely and that we're going to be doing talking. It's really not. It's just a lot of movement stuff. And then once you learn, you can do it on your own You can do it for 5 or 10 minutes, and it really helps people sort of release things from their body and release the tension, and over time can help deal with, deeper emotional issues. But a lot of people have had really positive experiences with it. You don't need equipment. Like I said, once you learn, you can do it and sort of integrate it into your life as a self-care tool. And so I can also post the website there. People can, do the.
Great. You're coming in and
And I'm
out, but
also
if you
happy
post
to.
that site, that'd be great.
Yeah, do that.
And Louise Ashwell says she wants to say something about her volunteering. If you're live, please share.
That's it.
Okay, great. Louise Ashwell, are you still on? And do you want to say something about your volunteering?
Louise is in as an attendee but has not made the switch to presenter, so she just needs to accept that request.
Okay. Louise, if you can accept that request and you still want to talk, please do.
Is that working?
Is this Louise?
Yes.
Please, yes, I can hear you.
Hi, I'll just speak to it briefly. I'm supporting the Huron Valley Mutual Aid Group as an aid coordinator. Currently, there's about 25 of us, 20 to 25 of us. So you may have seen in some of the resources flying around a Google form, which invites people to author support. That can be food, transportation, storage, a whole range of things. And it also invites people to request assistance. Basically, the aid coordinators are at the other end. We receive those offers and those requests. We're involved in that side of things. So far, that has meant doing shifts during the week to connect people. We have some limited financial resources, though we're applying for grants to try and get some more assistance. And basically where we operate is in some of the gaps that state assistance and is kind of unable to reach. So those people who haven't yet received their unemployment benefits, people who need financial assistance with very specific things that can be car insurance payments. If they aren't paying the insurance in their car, they can't go and get their medication. Medication costs has been a very prevalent request. Assistance with funeral costs has been an issue in the last week. These kinds of things. So yeah, happy to take individual questions in the chat or after this if needed.
And if there's a link to that mutual aid that if people want to sign up, if you can either email us or put it in the chat, that would be helpful. And then Hannah Turnbull said she doesn't have a working microphone, but she volunteered with the crisis text line and is considering doing that again. And they're looking to expand the number of crisis counselors. So she's added a link and it's on here. So if that's something that you might be interested in, doing a crisis text line, that has been added to our chat. So thank you, Hannah. Anyone else like to share what they're doing or want to talk about opportunities in their communities or with their field or that they're aware of around community engagement? All right, well, there will continue to be this opportunity as we have these sessions each week. So as people start doing more things and you want to share, just know that this will be a forum where these kind of conversations can take place. And please continue to add to the chat resources or suggestions or questions or comments. But I think now, unless someone else wants to, wait, okay, wants to speak, I think we're going to move on to the next slide.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Aisha Ghazi, and I am a member of the Engage team. And some of the things we want to talk a little bit about with you guys is just how do you approach community organizations right now if you're thinking about volunteering. You know, we know that as social workers, we have long known how systems of inequity and power will disenfranchise specifically marginalized communities. And we know that this is really an opportunity for us to help others see that, especially when crisis hits, we have a shared humanity and we have a duty to help one another. But when you do that, it's important to really approach communities from a place of power and strength. You know, there's these interpersonal practice modalities like motivational interviewing and CBT. And those are things that you do with individuals to help them remember the things they've overcome, the strength and the power that they have. And I think that at the community level and at an organizational level, you should really try to use those same approaches. So that means really helping to shift a narrative a community organization might have where they're in a place of panic and shift it to a place of power. It means reminding community organizations of what they've overcome and that they can get through this. And it's also reminding communities, organizations, individuals of the reality, right? That many of us, you know, I think myself included, we're scared about how this may affect us or of ourselves getting sick. But reminding people that, you know, 80% of cases are mild, that they are part of these shared networks of resources, they can get assistance, I think is very important. So, you know, some of the things you can do with these organizations is helping them to really list and inventory their assets and just helping them to stay focused on what they have and also remembering that you're not there to tell them what to do. Usually people who, you know, are afflicted by the problems know best the solutions to those problems. You're just really there to empower them and uplift them and help them to shift their perspectives so they remember what they can do to overcome this. So with that being said, you know, a individual who I think is doing an amazing job at this, and I'm going to let Trina go ahead and introduce them. They're working directly in the community, and there's opportunities for students to join their work as well. It's Charles Williams, Pastor Charles Williams. So Trina, if you want to take over and introduce.
Yes, thank you, Aisha. So our next guest is Charles Williams. He's also an MSW student, even though he has been accepted into the PhD program and joint program in social work and sociology. So we'll be starting that in the fall. But in addition to being an MSW student and getting ready to start his PhD program, he's pastor of a church, historic King Solomon Church. And so really just as trying to help out his community, he tried to see what he could do for the elders in his community and put out a call and has been able to provide a great service. So I'll let him explain more. And we're going to turn it over to you, Charles, to talk about what you've been doing in your community.
Good afternoon.
Are you there?
Good afternoon. First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to present here. And I really admire the tenacity and the urgency that the School of Social Work is moving in regards to this very important and pressing issue that is happening, a pandemic that is happening right before our eyes. I am the chair of the National Action Network here in Michigan. I've been with National Action Network for upwards of almost 20 years now. Started as a student a long time ago, undergrad student a long time ago. Started pastoring King Solomon Baptist Church about 10 years ago, actually 11 years ago. And of course, it started at U of M as an MSW student and continuing on in the joint doctoral program. National Action Network is led nationally, is about 24 or 5 years, 27, 28 years old now, led nationally by Reverend Al Sharpton. We completely do civil rights advocacy and social justice community organizing work. Social work is not our bailiwick, but King Solomon Baptist Church is the church I pastor, which is a community. We consider ourselves a community organizing, social service providing congregation. And so we sat down on the 12th of March, not knowing what this would bring, but we knew that what happened during Hurricane Katrina could very possibly happen in the city of Detroit. And so we worked on a process with many of our activists and some of our leaders to organize a way for us to provide service for those who are vulnerable, quite frankly, seniors and those who are already differently abled and have different problems, immunocompromised. And so, as you know now, Detroit is the largest concentration of cases. In the last 2 days, Detroit has been the largest concentration of cases, COVID-19 cases, and make up almost 40%, if not a little bit more, of the deaths that are consistently happening, continuously happening throughout the state of Michigan. And so our goal is to keep as many people in their homes as possible in every way. We started this process with the intentions that we would order food and pharmaceutical items by way of phone and online, only to recognize that the need was even greater because there are so many people who are on WIC and there are so many people who are on accessing social services and food programs that they do not have the ability to order by way of Kroger or order by way of Myers and use a credit card. And so the operation quickly transformed into delivering care packages, although we have made some pharmacy drops. We have received in the last 3 weeks upwards of 1,000 phone calls from individuals across the city of Detroit who are saying they need help. We have completed upwards of about 300 of those calls that we have received. We are receiving calls every day. There are many opportunities for people to get engaged in this project. And so I'm talk about a little bit about what we're doing. Can we get the next slide? What we are doing, we publicized a helpline number. The number is on the screen. That number was promoted by local media outlets in the city of Detroit. And as that number went out, of course, the phone started ringing. Like I said, upwards of 1,000 voicemails. We have about 300 of them we have completed. We still have more to go. Food is pretty tough to come by. But we've had an ongoing partnership with Forgotten Harvest over the last, I would say probably over the last 5 years, where we typically have a food pantry here at King Solomon. That calls for individuals to actually come to the church and actually pick up the food and then take them to their cars or walk them to their homes. So what we have done is we have split our resources up, and half of the resources go to folks who are still coming to the church. Unfortunately, we still have a line that's wrapped around the church of individuals who need the food, as well as we put together care packages filled with the stuff that comes from Forgotten Harvest. We just recently, our national office, after taking, I always love to give Reverend Sharpton a little bit of a nudge. But after watching us, they jumped into action, and in Harlem, they are delivering care packages also in partnership with World Central Kitchen, who now is also partnered with us. They'll be delivering truckloads of prepackaged meals where people can pop them in the microwave, put them in the refrigerator and such, and we'll be able to deliver those meals starting next week. As I said before, we're picking up medications in local pharmacies, and we're also maybe not at the rate that we would like to because of the phone calls we have and the need for more volunteers, but we have been trying to add into our wrap or our conversation when we return the phone calls, asking them how are they feeling. Are they depressed? Do they need to talk to someone else? And if we needed to, we have recommended them to other social service agencies. Let me also express that many of the social service agencies in the city of Detroit have called us and asked us to service their clientele, obviously partially because they are being safe and may not have the volunteer base to get around to their clientele. But we have taken on as much as we possibly can, and I'm sure that's a part of the voicemails that we do have as of right now. We would like to step up that effort as we can onboard more volunteers. And so, can I get the next slide? So what do we need to kind of help step that up? Many of these positions have been filled by Wayne State students as well as University of Michigan students. More University of Michigan students. I know I've had to. If anybody knows about churches or particularly Black churches and Black organizations like National Action Network, most of our membership. I'm 39 years old, and I'm the leader of both of the organizations, and I'm probably the youngest outside of the children that are involved in those organizations. So I've really had to, and they very resilient group of members, but I've really had to force them to try to stay home and utilize many of the people who would be less likely to be compromised by this pandemic or by this virus. So we need, as the operation is rolling, we have tons of people who email in. They want to become a volunteer, and when everybody's split doing everything, we found that it becomes very difficult to respond back and to get them back and get them processed and get them inside of the organization or of the operation. And so we need people who can help coordinate volunteers and put them in places, whether they're delivering packages, whether they're food handling, whether they're returning voicemails, whether they're returning calls and just as checking on people or delivering pharmacy. So volunteer coordinators or volunteer coordinator or coordinators, whichever picks up the most responsibility at whatever time they can is definitely needed. We do have some people that are doing mapping because we're getting calls from not just around this church or not just even in this congregation or not even in the organizations. We're getting calls from around southeastern Michigan as far as Washtenaw and is downriver, from Washtenaw to lower downriver Wayne County, Ecorse, western Wayne County, Wayne, Inkster, Michigan. We're getting calls from all over those places. So, of course, we try to deliver packages in a sensible way. We wouldn't want you to deliver a package in Inkster and then turn all the way around and go to the east side of Detroit and then go up to the west side of Detroit. So people who can help plot addresses as we take in more, more people who are in need of these care packages. Let me also just say that we're going to have to go back through the list, even after we complete people, just to go back and check, because the care packages, may last a week, may last 2 weeks. They're as strong as the donations are. And although we've had many members, and although the church and the organization, National Action Network, has both delved into our budget to try to get things, resources are scarce, and it's just as hard for us to get cleaning supplies and such as any other individual or organization at this time. So mapping coordinator is important. Care package delivery is very important, very, very important. If someone has a car, you have a car, and you are not vulnerable or immunocompromised, we're certainly looking for people who can engage and do that. What we are doing, just so folks know and understand, we're not knocking on the door. We're not ringing the doorbell. We have the phone numbers. We have the information that you need when you pull up to that house, or before you pull up to that house. You can call them and let them know that the package is on the porch. Now, some of the packages have been heavy, and I have risked my life, of course, because I've done it. I know personally I've done it, and decided to help push the package through the door if that elder or senior is available. But I'm wearing a mask, I'm wearing gloves, and our packaging is being sanitized. But that's something that we're not promoting. But it is certainly a concern. If someone's on a walker, or someone's using a cane or on a walker, and may not have any help. I have had times where, or at least one or two times I can think of out of 30, 40 deliveries, where I've had to kind of help push it forward. Food handler and packaging, we take in all of this food from Forgotten Harvest, and of course, making the packages. We're using gloves, we're using masks. We are trying to wipe down stuff as we get it in the packages as much as we possibly can. We know that this it's just a rolling process. We're doing the very best we can, and certainly not close to any other recommendations, but we're wiping the stuff down, putting them in the packages, using gloves, and trying to make sure that we can deliver a sanitized package as best as we possibly can. Voicemail returner is very important. That's one of the biggest deals. And for people who live in Ann Arbor, people who are out of the state and still concerned or still would like to do something, that is just as simple as us sending you voicemails throughout the day, or a packet of voicemails to return. We have a Google Doc spreadsheet. You put the information in the Google Doc spreadsheet, and then we can move on. The voicemail returner, as well as the wellness caller, is somewhat in the same capacity or same job description. But we would like people to who would like to just do that, call and check on people, and as well as make referrals to agencies to give some type of telehelp or telecounseling that they can give at this time. We have run into, and I've done every part of this operation, and as the leader of the operation, I've done every part of it. And I've talked to people, and I have talked to people who have sounded down, and we have went into a conversation, or I have put it this way, have listened and tried to give show some empathy and concern. I am not, the church is not, as well as the organization is not engaged in a religious conversation, or will not, or does not engage in a religious conversation. God will make a way. It'll be God is in control, unless there are those who will say, I'm gonna be all right because I know, God is in control. We've had that. We don't try to push that conversation. That is not a conversation that we're pushing. But more importantly, in this urgent time of loneliness and exclusion and isolation, we just try to, grant as much solace as possible. But for many of you all who are practitioners, I'm sure you know and have had those conversations before and know your way around them very well. All right, next slide. Next slide. All right. So how do you volunteer? We've streamlined this process, and I am working diligently to try to make things as uncomplicated as possible. As you know, in organizing, there's always chaos and a little bit of confusion, but we are moving very swiftly to make this process easy for people who want to volunteer, easy for people who need to deliver packages, easy for people who need to make calls. And then, of course, if you would like to volunteer, easy to get involved and volunteer. You can go to kingsolomonchurch.org/COVID-19, fill out that form. As individuals fill that form out, we will be having um, um, weekly opportunities for folks to move right into action by way of a training. We just do a light phone training just to give you a kind of understanding of what you will get in those phone calls, as well as delivery training to try to give you some tips on how to deliver. I know one of our drivers who I see on the line, Miss Teresa, she did some deliveries. And, you know, this is the type of environment we're working in. She made a delivery and she left her trunk open, and she turned around and the other deliveries were out of her car, but she left her trunk open. And this is a time when people are in need in so many different kind of ways. And quite frankly, I don't get upset or get mad when folks do things like that, because I know that this is the environment we're in. It's an urge, and as many of you all know, this isn't anything new for this community. We're talking about a community that's upward of 50% poverty, has been socially isolated, and the needs are great, and the public health disparities, the health disparities have been there for a long time. So we're being patient, and we're going to deliver as much as we possibly can. So with that being said, thank you. I got to thank Professor Mary Eldridge, who's my field supervisor, who initiated this opportunity and me presenting, and certainly thank Dr. Shanks and Dean Fisher, as well as two of our outstanding leaders, Kayla Kennard and Chanel Taylor, well as Sonia Harb, and all of the engaged staff. I really appreciate everybody. I sent out a mass email on the SSW email earlier today, just to kind of reiterate where you can go. So you can look out for that email. If you didn't get that email, here's the link right here. I believe this will be available and you'll be able to hit it, click it. If you can't, let me just give you my email. My handle is CEWII. That is CEWII. Again, that is CEWII. And that's at umich.edu. Thank you so much, and go blue, and we're going to get through this thing together.
Thank you so much, Charles. We appreciate you taking the time, since I know you're really busy at this moment, to share with our audience. And now I'm going to turn it back over to Aisha to tell you about other volunteer opportunities, but just wanted to let you know that each week we're going to try to have one or two people come and actually give a personal overview of volunteer opportunities, but we're also going to have this online list. So Aisha, please take over. You could talk about the online list of volunteer opportunities.
Sure. So firstly, thank you so much, Charles, for sharing the amazing work that you're doing. You know, before I go into the list of volunteer opportunities, we want to stress that your safety is obviously of utmost, it's paramount, especially with the governor's executive order to shelter in place. So by us providing these opportunities to you, it's not an expectation that you have to do these things, and you should never do anything that makes you feel unsafe. We're simply providing these opportunities because the community has come to us and asked if students could help out virtually. You know, as Charles said, there might be some delivering of packages, but again, your safety, think about that. And don't do anything that makes you feel like you're really putting yourself at risk if you're immunocompromised or if you don't feel well. So I want to lead now into the volunteer opportunities with several organizations that have contacted us, that we have an ongoing list that we're going to update weekly, and this list is going to be housed on the School of Social Work website. So some of the organizations that have said that they are interested in gaining students, and remember, these are volunteer opportunities. This is not meant to be a new field placement. This is not meant to be, an alternative to your field placement. We're going to have Dan Fisher and his team next talk a little bit about the potential for getting some of these volunteer activities to count for field credit. But that is something that you have to work with and work on with your field faculty instructor in the field office. So these are just meant to be volunteer opportunities. So some of the organizations that have reached out that are interested include Street Democracy, that works with the homeless and the court system in Detroit, API Vote Michigan, Detroit Disability Power, Habitat for Humanity of Huron Valley, along with several others that we are also in talks with, and we will update the list to include them in the future. And so activities will range from fund development and grant writing to census outreach and election work. Really amazing, great things that help these organizations continue to reach out to some of the most vulnerable in their communities. So in this list, there will be contact information for the person you need to contact at that organization. And we encourage you to do that. You should contact the organization directly if you're interested. Again, if you're thinking, I'm short on my field hours for this semester, how do I get this to count? You need to contact your field faculty person first and talk to them about it. We ask that if you do any of these opportunities, if you volunteer at all, and whether it be for field or you just want to help out, please fill out this form. There's a link in the slide that says this form. This will be another document that we will also house on the School of Social Work website. This is for the Engaged Detroit teams, or just the Engaged teams tracking purposes. We want to know who's going where and what organizations we've helped out. So we ask you to please fill out that form. And, next I'm going to turn it over to the field team, to Dan Fisher, and he's going to talk a little bit more about safety, a lot more about how you can get these hours counted for field credit. So I'm going to turn it over to Dan Fisher now.
Thanks, Aisha. I appreciate it. I also would like to just start by thanking Charles for the work that he and his congregation and community have done. What a great example of what social work is all about. And I greatly appreciate, Charles, what you've done and the opportunities that you've created for people to be able to assist and help out. I think, as Aisha said, in looking at the poll, it looked like about 25% of you were looking for opportunities to supplement some of your current field experiences, as we are now working remotely. With the governor's executive order, obviously on-site work has significantly been limited. I think that those of you that have expressed to your field faculty an interest to stay on site at your field placements, we have a form that was created along with our general counsel's office that responds to the governor's executive order about shelter in place and stay home and stay safe. And so if you are interested in on-site work, make sure you're connecting with your field faculty around that. There's a form that you and the agency would need to be able to sign to talk about you being essential workers and essential staff. For us, I think that the main thing as we look kind of going forward is we certainly want to make sure that you all are considering your health and safety, considering the health and safety of your loved ones and people in your immediate circle and family. I know that many of us have either illnesses or immune compromised situations or healthcare situations that we need to be mindful of, but also for the people around us, whether that be significant others, partners, children, parents, things along that line. I think what we also want to stress too is the importance of health and safety from a public health perspective. really our ability, even if you're feeling healthy, your ability to limit the amount of times that you're out and about, according to everything that we hear, is critical for helping to control this pandemic. So please keep that in mind about the activities that you engage in, not only related to field, but certainly even these volunteer-related opportunities. What we are really concerned with in the field office is we want to make sure that people are getting the hours that they need, certainly through this term, as well as for those students that are getting ready to graduate. I think all of you have seen the approval for hours reductions related to field that CSWE has granted. That's, I think, alleviated some of the immediate stress of trying to get a certain number of hours done, as we have some flexibility in that now. What we also want to make sure you're doing is that your remote activities are valuable and helping you work toward competency development. And adding some of these volunteer opportunities to supplement what you're currently doing with your field placements and what you're currently doing with remote activities. Make sure you have conversations with your field instructor about some of those interests, your field faculty, to discuss those possibilities with them as well too. We are trying to be as flexible as we possibly can be to help all of you get the experiences that we know will be valuable to you as you develop competency and work toward graduation. I think that one of the things that you'll see from the list that's very interesting is as we worked with the Engage team and communication that we were getting, a lot of these volunteer opportunities are with agencies that we already have as field placement sites. And so you may be placed already in these agencies and not fully aware of some of these volunteer opportunities. And those are maybe things that you can connect with your field instructor and work into your field work and your educational agreements. We would always say, I think, when you're looking at things to do, start with your agencies. They're all involved with providing community connections, working with clients. I know many of you now are doing telehealth, phone call checks like Charles was talking about for folks in his community and congregation. I think those of you that are have been in school-based placements, I think there's going to be a need to reach out to families around educational interest, parenting strategies now that kids are home all day long, and just wellness checks with many kids that would be on social workers' caseloads within school settings. One of the things that again I stressed in the beginning is to just be mindful of the fact that if you're volunteering, much like Charles said, all of these organizations, if you're out in the community, have many safety protocols in place. Please make sure you're following those. We want to make sure that not only you're staying safe, but the people that you're coming in contact with and the people that you come in contact with will also be able to stay safe, I think, related to coronavirus. Again, if you have doing on-site field work, I know that there are a few of you that agencies are still open. There's still a need to be able to do stuff. Make sure you're connecting with your field faculty person to determine how to be able to do that, to have the form that we now can sign both for you and for your agency as well too. I also just want to comment for folks online. We are greatly appreciative of the ability and adaptability that our student body has shown under these circumstances. This is an unprecedented time in all of our lives. And I feel fortunate in many ways that as social workers, we hopefully have skills and flexibility and adaptability and response to crisis that I know we're all using right now. And we greatly appreciate the flexibility that you have all shown as we've been working with you to try to navigate getting you the educational experiences that you want. We want to be able to provide for you. So we're excited to continue these weekly meetings to talk about new opportunity as we kind of go forward. Please make sure you're reaching out to our team. I think that we've made every effort to be in contact with every student we have on our caseload. So if you haven't heard from us, please let us know and reach out to your field faculty person. But one of the things that I'm excited that we're going to be able to do, I think, with these meetings is also talk about some self-care. Dominique Crump and Trina, I'll let you introduce Dominique, but Dominique is a recent graduate of our program. I'm sure many of you may remember her in December, but I think it's great what she wants to be able to talk about helping all of us to deal with the stresses and the challenges that we're all dealing with on a personal level related to COVID-19. Trina, I guess I'll turn it over to you to introduce Dominique, and we'll kind of go from there.
Thank you, Dan. There's been so many things in the chat, thanking the field office and the field instructors for all their support during these unprecedented times. So thank you for your talk just now, but also for all the work you and the field office have been doing. It is my pleasure to introduce those of you who don't know her to Dominique Crump. She graduated in December, but has been working with me since January, both on community engagement as well as some National Social Work Grand Challenge to reduce extreme economic inequality. And when she was a student, she did a lot of work with Black radical healing pathways, and is trained in doing a lot of self-care things. So I thought it would be great for her to take 5 to 10 minutes of this call to just remind us, in addition to trying to figure out all the ways we can help the community and help others, we also need to take care of ourselves. So Dominique, I'm going to turn it over to you and do your activity.
Thanks, Trina. Thank you for the introduction. As mentioned, I'll be discussing some self-care techniques as well as mechanisms to emotionally regulate at this time. So as the slide says, self-care is definitely social justice. And I'm sure a lot of you already know this and are implementing these things, but I think it's a worthy reminder that none of us can pour from an empty cup. And some of us cope with times of crisis by giving all we've got, and some of us completely freeze up, and both are understandable and valid responses. And I think the name of the game is finding that balance, and mindfulness can really help with that. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So according to the American Psychological Association, mindfulness is a moment-to-moment awareness of one's experience without judgment. So in this sense, mindfulness is a state, not a trait. A lot of people associate mindfulness with meditation, but it's not necessarily equivalent to that. And there are a lot of different ways that you can use mindfulness. So when you're practicing mindfulness, it does not have to be perfect. If you're trying, you're definitely doing it. And that's where the no judgment part comes in, which can be hard, but this is what we're practicing, to be as kind to ourselves as we're trying to be giving to our communities. So some examples of mindfulness could be as simple as washing your dishes. So you may look at the fork and find awareness in washing each and every crevice of that fork without worrying about the other pile of dishes, without worrying about all of the other things that you may need to do in the day, but really taking that time to breathe, calm your mind, and focus on what you're doing in that from moment to moment. There are also a lot of resources on, if you're traveling, how to be mindful while you're driving, if you're walking, how to be mindful while doing that. And I share some of those things in the upcoming slides. So I did want to just take some time to lead us all through a brief mindfulness moment. So if you could sit, and I'm going to move my chair back. If you could sit in a position that's comfortable for you, whether that be sitting on the floor, sitting up as tall as you can, moving to the edge of your seat with your feet planted on the ground, sitting up as tall as you can, but whatever feels safest for you and what you're able to do right now. Your eyes can be open or closed, whatever feels safest for you. And then we'll start by breathing in slowly. And then out slowly. And then we're going to breathe in again through your nose. And out through your mouth, letting your breath flow effortlessly in and out of your body. And then you're just going to want to keep breathing in and out slowly, letting go of your thoughts. Let go of the things that you have to do later today or any pending projects. And keep breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let go. Breathing in and out. Simply let your thoughts rise and fall of their own accord and be at one with your breath. Purposefully watch your breath, focusing on your sense of awareness, on its pathway as it enters your body and fills you with life. Breathe in slowly and breathe out. Watch with your awareness as it works its way up and out of your mouth and its energy dissipates into the world. Breathe in, breathe out. So that was just a short moment of being aware with your breath, but there are many ways that you can do that that is not necessarily engaged with just breathing in one moment. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Some helpful resources that are linked, so when this is sent out, you can click on that, is box breathing. So it's when you're breathing in for 4 seconds, holding it for 4 seconds, breathing out for 4 seconds, and doing that 4 times. It's actually something that I did with my students when I was teaching high school, and it really helped them. I was teaching summer school, and that can be a trying time for young people who are teenagers in high school. So it's definitely something that I've seen work across a wide range of ages, as young as 14 and even with elders. And some things that you can say after that is, I am safe, I am grounded, I am in control of my thoughts and actions. So there's a lot of science about how using affirmations with yourself can help decrease anxiety. There's also the DBT skill, dialectical behavioral therapy, the please skill for emotional regulation in times of stress. So that's hyperlinked there. And a crucial component of the please skill is to keep a daily checklist. So at the end of the week, you can reflect on what you did versus what you didn't do. And so the goal is not to stress you out or give you another thing to do, but to really see what on a daily basis you're able to do for yourself off of that checklist and what you did not get the chance to complete. And that way you can dig into the root of what might be blocking you from getting good sleep, for example. The next resource is a guided meditation to release worry during sleep. And I offered this one because it's one that I've actually done myself. So I try not to offer things that I don't have experience with. And this guided meditation really helped me sleep when I was having a hard time sleeping a few years ago. So that link directs you directly to that YouTube clip. And so lastly, just one thing that I wanted to share, which a lot of people may already be doing, is just prioritizing connecting with folks and having conversations intentionally, not about school, not about your responsibilities, and not about COVID-19. Just so that you can take some of that brain energy and anxiety away from that. Because even if we're not realizing that we might be creating an anxious environment for ourselves, our bodies might be feeling that tension. So the TRE that Lavella mentioned should be really helpful for that as well. And then next week, if nothing has been offered that's more pressing than this, we'll be talking about some resilience research and how to build resilience based on your strengths during this time. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Something that says I'm feeling more relaxed and safe and grounded already. So thank you for that. And I'd like to we're going to close out fairly soon, and I have some last minute remarks to make. But I would like to open it up if people want through the chat or through talking to say any other resources or things they haven't had a chance to do. So we're still minding the chat, and we're still open to if you guys have things or comments you want to make. But I have some closing remarks, and I'll let Dan make a few closing remarks as well. So at least at the moment, we plan to do this every Thursday for as long as needed. So we'll definitely do next week, and then next week we'll tell you about the next week, and as long as we need it. We might take a break once the semester ends and before the new semester starts, but we will let you know both electronically and via these virtual conversations about what we're going to be doing. And I think, Nikki, if someone is already signed up for one of these, will they get links on what's happening in the future? Or do they have to RSVP anew each time? Well, Nikki can let us know that. But either way, we will do them every week, and we'll try to make sure that it's a little easier process to find where it is and to log on. But even if you can't make one of these sessions, all of the webinars are being recorded. so you can go listen to them at another point, and definitely find the volunteer list and the forms and the resources, because those will be posted soon after. And as Nikki mentioned at the beginning, there's going to be spaces on the webpage that have all this information, and hopefully in an easy click. Or you can contact our team, SSW Community Engagement at umich.edu. And so either myself or Sonia or Fatima or Aisha will respond as soon as we can. And so you can contact us with questions. You can contact us with volunteer opportunities. You can contact us to find out some form or resource that was mentioned on this call that you can't find. We are going to be responsive as possible around these community engagement opportunities. As Aisha mentioned, there's a list of options, and you should contact those sites directly if you're interested in volunteering. But if you have some trouble with a link or have some issue that you can't get through, then please do email us at sswcommunityengagement@umich.edu. And as Dan mentioned, please don't just assume this is going to count for field. You still need to communicate with your School of Social Work field instructor. And then we also have an Engage resource guide. So it's not just the volunteers that opportunities that are available, but all the other resources that are available through community-based organizations and on the web. So we also have that guide, which will be available to you either in the chat or when these slides are made available right after this webinar. So that is all that I have in terms of closing remarks. Dan, do you have a few closing remarks you'd like to make?
Just briefly, Trina. Again, I just want to thank you all for one, being here today, but also for all that you've contributed as we all try to navigate this virus and what this means for our current situation as well as for things in the future. I guess I'll just end saying to all of you, be well, stay healthy, and stay safe. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Absolutely. And Nikki, if you're still on, if you want to say something about how to RSVP or how to find these resources, where they're going to be on the web, please feel free to join.
Hi, everyone. The resources will mainly be posted on the school's website. It'll be on the front page shortly. There will be a banner posted there. So that'll be your main place to find all the volunteer opportunities and other resources that the school's putting out in terms of COVID stuff. There will also likely be some activity on Facebook. You may see it posted there. And then as more of these conversations are had, there will be follow-up emails, and all the follow-up emails will have the appropriate links as well.
And Nikki, the one question about if they want to RSVP for next week, will there be a new RSVP, or will those who participated already be invited to the next one? Is there a way to do that?
I can do both. I will invite everybody who attended this one, and there will be another RSVP sent out.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Yes.
So that is all we have. I'll stay on for a few minutes and we'll keep the chat going for a few minutes, but that's all of the formal content. And so thank you so much for participating, and we hope you find great volunteer opportunities or find ways to continue to work in your field, and then you can let us know next week how everything has gone. So thank you very much for participating, and take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.